Esiason.
What's up, football fans? BetMGM is giving you the chance to win up to $250,000 in bonus bets. It's all part of BetMGM's longest touchdown jackpot, where you could be able to split the grand prize with anyone else who bet on the longest touchdown of the week. It's easy to get started. Log into your BetMGM account today and opt into the promo. Then place an anytime touchdown wager of $10 or more on the player of your choice, up to one player per game. If your player scores the longest touchdown of the week, you'll win a share of the $250K. BetMGM lets you go all the way with the longest touchdown jackpot. Make your bets and join the fun with the sportsbook born in Vegas. BetMGM and GameSense remind you to play responsibly. See BetMGM.com for terms. 21 years of age or older. Virginia only. BetMGM's longest touchdown jackpot subject to rules. See BetMGM.com. Existing customer offer. Subject to eligibility requirements. Bonus bets are unrestricted reward bonus dollars that expire in 7 days. Gambling
From the VTRN News Center, I'm Bill Trefiro. A man from Floyd has been charged with assaulting police officers during the U.S. Capitol riot 4 years ago. Nathan Bordeaux appeared in federal court and was released on his own recognizance. Bordeaux was identified from video footage as part of a mob that was fighting with police at the Capitol grounds, and allegedly he took a riot shield from an officer. He faces multiple charges, including 2 felonies, assaulting or resisting police, and participating in civil disorder, with his case moving to Washington federal court. Bordeaux is among several Western Virginia residents charged in the ongoing investigation of the January 6 riots. Over 1,500 individuals nationwide have faced charges related to the events, including assaults on police officers. Residents of an apartment building in Henry County say that they've been living without water for days. People living at the Northview Gardens apartments say they currently have no running water due to a leak in one of the main pipes. And residents say this isn't the first time that they've had to deal with poor living conditions. Some residents report having mold in their apartments due to ongoing water issues that haven't been addressed for months. City officials say they hope the property managers can work with residents on fixing those problems. And that's your news update. From the Virginia Talk Radio Network, I'm Bill Trefiro.
Good morning.
Time to get ready for your day with the morning warm-up with Trey Lyle. Join us live on VTRN Sports 93.3 FM or the VTRN Sports app. Open VTRN Sports on your smart speaker or stream live on YouTube. Time to get ready for your day with the morning warm-up with Trey Lyle and Ty Tracy.
Good morning. Time to get your day started with the morning warm-up. I'm Trey Lyle. That's Ty Tracy.
Good morning, everyone.
7:03 a.m. on this Wednesday, January 15th. We are already over 2 weeks in to 2025. So get ready for it. Buckle in. A lot of fun things to talk about. We got, obviously, Hokies are in action against the Wahoos. Or not. They're both in action. They're not playing each other, actually.
I was about to say that's February 1st, and I will be at that game. Just know that.
How about that? Look at Ty dropping a nugget right there. But they're not playing each other. That just shows my brain's firing on all cylinders this morning, folks. But they are playing. Virginia Tech will take on NC State. Virginia in a rematch from earlier in the year against SMU. The Virginia Tech game coverage starts 6:30 right here on VTRN Sports. Tune in that later tonight as they take on NC State. Fun fact, tickets are as low as $2 for both games, and both are at home. So if you want to go to a game and you're listening, how about that?
Just $2?
Just $2.
I ain't gonna lie. I'm bringing quarters.
I think you'd have to buy it at the site that it links to on the ESPN website. But it is upper level. It is $2, but like fees probably make it like $7,000. So unfortunately, but there you go. Lines in that one: Carolina or NC State is a 1.5 point favorite, and SMU is a 6.5 point favorite in that one. Quick peek of what happened yesterday. it was a lot of college basketball, a lot of good games last night. In men's college basketball in the top 25, Duke gets a win 89-54. Auburn, number 1 team in the country, 88-66 over number 15 Mississippi State. Number 21 Ole Miss gets the upset over Alabama, 74-64. Missouri upsets number 5 Florida, 83-82. Moving to the Big East, Marquette escapes with an 85-83 win over DePaul. Kentucky routes Texas A&M 81-69 in a top 11 matchup. The game you could have heard on VTR in Sports. Number 19 Illinois 94, Indiana 69, and Wisconsin, number 24 Wisconsin 70, Ohio State 68, and Arizona gets the mini upset over number 25 Baylor 81-70. It's weird to see some of these new conference matchups, like Arizona Baylor, which granted the fact that the Big 12 over the last 2 years has added Arizona and Houston to it makes it a really intriguing basketball conference.
Mm-hmm.
But the SEC clearly is the best one. But I wanted to, this is the morning warm-up. I said I would recap what happened last night, mostly college basketball scores. If you want to look at the NBA last night, Cavs bounced back after they actually lost to the Pacers. They come back and beat the Pacers. We'll talk the NBA as the season goes on.
Mm-hmm.
But the Cavs are 34-5. The Thunder are 33-6, as the Thunder also won last night in that one. Jamal Murray also probably had the performance of the night across the NBA. Nuggets dominate the Mavs 118-99. So that's all the action that had happened last night to keep you up to date. What's up?
I ain't gonna lie. Kentucky really surprised me this season. Ever since Coach Cal left, I ain't expect them to have a good season because he left. But they've been playing pretty good lately.
Well, they got a lot of good transfers in.
That too.
And I think
I just didn't expect them to progress like that. I didn't mean to interrupt you or anything.
No, you're fine. I think it's something that they just needed a fresh coat of paint, if that makes sense. They needed a new person in there. And Cal was saying that. And Cal going to Arkansas, and I think Cal will still do a great job. He's one of the best coaches. He's a Hall of Fame level head coach for a reason. So I think you look at it, Kentucky, is always going to be good. They're Kentucky,
it's a basketball program.
They're Kentucky basketball.
Yeah.
So something good that's happening tonight is the Lakers are going to be back in action at home against the Miami Heat. I believe this is their first game, and they did play the Spurs. So they had 2 games postponed. Then they got to play the Spurs at home, which they did lose. But a cool moment in that game, Chris Paul and Victor Wembanyama actually gifted their jerseys to J.J. Redick's sons. And, the former Roanoke native, J.J. Redick, I should say. It was a cool moment because obviously Chris and him have a very close relationship for their time with the Clippers, but JJ's sons had a lot of NBA memorabilia and they actually lost it. JJ was affected by the California wildfires. So the fact that his kids could restart their collection with that was a really cool moment in that one. And so shout out to CB3 and Victor Wembanyama. We'll talk more about Tech and UVA college basketball, but I want to get to the NFL playoffs first because you can listen to all these games right here on VTRN Sports. We talked a lot about Lions Commanders yesterday. I did want to talk about the other 3 matchups, which are all rematches. In Chiefs Texans, Bills Ravens, and Eagles Rams. 2 of those were 2 dominant performances. And the Chiefs really, score-wise, it didn't look that way. But the Chiefs did dominate Houston. Final score was 27-19, but it really felt like Kansas City had it throughout the whole game. That was the Saturday before Christmas game, so you look at these. Let's start with the NFC since we already previewed one NFC game. I think if you're Philadelphia, you got kind of lucky with the way this fell, where you were staring down the barrel after defeating the Packers and the Commanders winning, facing maybe the 2 other best teams in the NFC in Minnesota and Green Bay before you had to play. And I'm assuming if seed holds, you would play the Lions in the NFC Championship game. That most of this season, the 4 best teams in the NFC were Philadelphia, Detroit, Green Bay, and Minnesota. Now, the Rams pull off an upset on Monday night, which we didn't talk about much here. We talked a little bit about it and how dominant the defensive line was for Los Angeles yesterday, but this sets up an interesting game where Philadelphia is a 6-point favorite. There's actually only one close spread. Philadelphia's 6, Detroit's 9.5, as we mentioned. Kansas City's 8, and then the Ravens have now. Bills opened as the favorite. Ravens are now the favorite. I think it's the first time ever a Bills home playoff game where they're the underdog. But we'll talk about that one in a second. Ty, going back, I think the matchup between Philadelphia and Los Angeles is kind of simple. It's, can the Rams not allow plays like this to happen?
3rd down and 6. Here's a handoff. Barkley left side finds a hole. 40 to the 50. Saquon Barkley is gone. 20, 10, 5. Touchdown Eagles. An exclamation point for Saquon Barkley. A 72-yard touchdown run, and the Eagles are on their way to win number 7 in a row.
So that was, final score was 37-20. Saquon Barkley, 26 carries, 255 yards, and 2 touchdowns. He had 300 yards of total offense in this one. Ty, the defensive line has looked great the back half of the season for Los Angeles in these last couple of games. This is probably, if you look at DVOA, which is an efficiency statistic, they're actually the worst defense left is the Los Angeles Rams, which kind of makes sense given their lack of experience, I should say. And Philadelphia is, guess what? The number 1 defense in the NFL. And so I think the key is, can Los Angeles slow down Saquon Barkley and force Philadelphia to be a passing team? What do you think?
I mean, you got to think about it. It's okay. Yeah, the Eagles' pass game has not been effective, but it really is. Like, we got Saquon back there. You can really, their formula just been running the ball and stuff, and they've been successful with it. That's the only thing. Can the pass game be effective? Definitely. When you still got Dallas Goedert, AJ Brown, and Devontae Smith out there and everything. So I wouldn't say like, oh, the Eagles had to pass the ball. I'd probably rather not face the pass game, because their pass game can kill you, because you got to figure out who's going to match up with AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, or Dallas Goedert.
Yeah, I mean, in theory, Philadelphia, we just haven't seen it for Philadelphia.
Yeah, we haven't seen it this year.
We saw it in Pittsburgh, but you haven't seen it from Philadelphia this year.
Yeah, you got to think about it. It's been like,
and Saquon Barkley's been maybe the best player in the NFL.
Yeah, our success has been so far just the run game. I mean, why not change it up? You've been successful with the run game.
But I'm not saying what Philadelphia should do. I'm asking you what should the Rams do?
I mean, you're going to have to shut the run game down to make Jalen Hurts pass. That's the only fact I'll say. You're going to have to make him pass the ball. The Rams D-line has to be eruptive, effective, make Jalen Hurts feel uncomfortable in the pocket and stuff. Can they do that? Yes. Can they shut the run game down? Yes, but it's going to be more trickier than they play against Sam Darnold and stuff.
I agree with that. I think if you look at it, the Rams came out hot in that first half. And granted, the game was over at halftime. It was 24-3. But the Vikings defense kind of settled back in that second half. And I just think the Rams have been maximizing, and I think Ed talked about this yesterday, have been maximizing whatever talent they can find. Someone posted the breakdown of the Lions and Lions trade with Jared Goff. Here it is. So the Lions got Jared Goff, Jahmyr Gibbs, Sam Laporta, Jameson Williams, Metafunwu, Broderick Martin, and Josh Pascal, while the Rams got Matthew Stafford. And someone asked who won the Jared Goff trade. And I would say both.
I would say, yeah, it's even out.
Because essentially it gave the Rams the thing they needed to win the Super Bowl, and it gave the Lions the tools to possibly win one.
Yeah. So basically, it's a draw.
But because of that trade and other trades, like the Von Miller trade, to name another one, they just have to. They've been slowly rebuilding their assets, but they've drafted really well. You draft Jared Verse and Braden Fisk. You draft Puka Nacua in the 5th round.
Not Cooper Rush.
They already had Cooper Cup.
Yeah, Cooper Cup.
I'm saying
Rush.
post Super Bowl.
Oh, okay, yeah.
You look, you get a guy like, I'm trying to think, Kobe Turner, who's been really good for them. They've slowly rebuilt their offensive line.
And they all like late rounds, not no first round pick or anything.
Yeah, their one first round pick in like 10 years was Jared Verse, and Jared Verse might be the defensive rookie of the year. So you have to give Los Angeles a lot of credit, but you're looking at this game, Saquon, and I'm not thinking Saquon Barkley's going to run for 255 yards because that just doesn't happen. I think this Rams defense has gotten better on the back half of the season because they've had to. I just think it's a really good this matchup, and the way the Rams like to play actually falls into Philadelphia's hands. But I would like to see if Philadelphia's going to have to face. I don't think it's Washington as much because I just think they can again dominate the line of scrimmage with Washington. They have to face Detroit in the NFC Championship game, and it's more because I think Detroit will put points up and control the ball. I would like to see more from the passing game. Moving to in that one, we'll pick that game on Friday. Moving to the AFC side, both rematches. First one, this is going to be the best game of the weekend. Or on paper, it's the best game of the weekend. Bills-Ravens. If it plays out like it did earlier in the year, where the Ravens dominated them. Granted, that game's in Baltimore, not Buffalo, and I think the Bills got a lot better throughout the season. It's going to be one-sided. I mean, going back, luckily, we aired all three rematches. We actually aired through our friends at Westwood One right here on VTRN Sports. So we have some highlights from in that game. It opened with a big play from Derrick Henry, and it basically was a Ravens route from there.
1st and 10, Ravens at their own 13, moving right to left. Pistol formation, Henry the back behind Jackson. 2 receivers to the left. Here's a handoff. Henry outside the right hash. 15, 20, 25, 30. There goes Henry out to midfield. Buffalo 40, far sideline 30. Henry to the 20, 15, 10, 5. Touchdown Ravens. Derrick Henry on the opening play goes 87 yards, and the Ravens have taken a 6-0 lead.
So this was week 4. Derrick Henry had 24 carries for 199 yards and 1 touchdown. This was Josh Allen's worst game of the season, probably 16 of 29, 180. And basically, by halftime, it was 21-3. Baltimore kind of just dominated this game. And I do not think Buffalo got a lot better since then. And
the Ravens too, because they were still trying to figure out their identity as well with Derrick Henry.
But that was the first. That was for the Ravens. That was they kind of finally figured it out.
Yeah.
That was everyone talking about why are they not giving the ball to Derrick Henry? Yada yada yada. They start 0-2. They have that weird loss to the Raiders for whatever reason, which is still crazy to think about.
And the Chiefs.
But then that comes off of back-to-back games where Henry goes for 151 against Dallas, and then the 199, as I mentioned, against the Cowboys. And this is week 4. So this is a long time ago. Long time ago. It was last year. But this is still shaping up to be, I mean, the spread is not going to go past like 1.5 points. It's at one point right now, favored for Baltimore.
It's going to be a last possession game.
It's
to be honest. It's gonna be a last possession.
These
game.
are the 2 best quarterbacks in terms of how they played this year. I still think Mahomes is his own tier, but these are the 2 clear top 2 MVP candidates. And to be frank, I trust Josh Allen more in a playoff situation because Josh Allen, like I don't sit back and think, is there been a playoff game where I'm like, all right, Josh Allen lost them that game? It was their defense. Whereas for Lamar, I think he's had those bad performances. And I'm not here to say, like, I'm expecting Lamar not to play bad because he's Lamar Jackson. Like, he's really good. He's really, really, really good. It's just Josh Allen has the best touchdown to interception ratio in the history of the NFL playoffs. And
plus when
it's at home.
I was about to say when the Bills and Josh Allen they're like 8-0 at home as well
this season. Yes.
Yeah.
So what do you think's a key in this one, Ty?
You gonna have to make for the Bills. You gonna have to shut down the run game. You gonna have to make Lamar Jackson pass the ball and stuff the run game. Make Derrick Henry not a factor the whole time. And for the Ravens defense, you gonna have to contain Josh Allen, and I mean, you gonna have to make him run because you gotta think about it. They don't got that good. They don't really got no good receiver spines. Amari Cooper, but they're gonna have to.
Khalil Shakir is really good, and then you have the two tight ends, Kincaid and Knox.
I mean, yeah, them too, but either way, you gonna have to make him do. You gonna have to make Josh Allen do everything. I believe.
I think. Well, you don't want to have Josh Allen put the cape on. Essentially,
that's the only thing. Like, if he puts the cape on, Superman, then just over with. But I just feel like they're gonna have to like.
I will say this one thing I would monitor is Zay Flowers. If Zay Flowers, like, he's questionable for this game, I think John Harbaugh said he might play. Even if I think if he's not 100%, I really don't trust the rest of their receivers. Bateman is hit or miss. Zay kind of fits what they need, and it'll be interesting to see how Buffalo plays it because Buffalo's weakness is their safeties.
Yeah.
And with Rapp and DeMar Hamlin, and yes.
And their corners.
Yeah. They have a really good slot corner in Johnson, but their secondary is the weakness of their defense. And it'll be interesting to see how that game plays out. And then obviously this game, man, Kansas City's lucky. They don't have to face the Chargers. Kansas City taking on Houston. This was a game, another rematch where Kansas City just kind of dominated the last time these two teams played.
First down and goal from the Texans, 8. Trips left, single man right. Mahomes in the gun. Hunt to his right side. Gray in motion from the right. Here's the snap. Mahomes back, looks left, throws left. Wide open, caught, touchdown. It's Xavier Worthy. An 8-yard touchdown pass from Mahomes to Worthy, and the Chiefs extend the lead. 2:42 to go in the third. Kansas City up 23-16.
And they would go on to win that game. And I think that was the game that clinched them home field, or was the Pittsburgh game, excuse me. 27-19 was the final score in that one. I think that score doesn't indicate how one-sided it felt. The Chiefs are the Chiefs. That's kind of how I feel about this game. Ty, I think if Houston were to pull off the upset, they would need to play.
Their defense had to be a big contributor, like they were against the Chargers and their defense.
And they would need as much, like they would need to force as many turnovers, but I just don't trust their offense. And it's not that I don't trust Stroud and I don't trust Nico Collins. I think both those, it's their offensive line has been awful this year. Can they muster enough run game with Joe Mixon? Like, their offense has been too inconsistent. And again, is the Kansas City Chiefs. You have Patrick Mahomes, you're guaranteed to get to the AFC Championship game. I think Kansas City's, I feel pretty confident about Kansas City. If you're Kansas City, last time we saw you might have been maybe your best game in the season. You beat Pittsburgh 29-10. You're getting healthy on offense. Hollywood Brown is back. Obviously, I think Xavier Worthy has finally figured out his role in the offense. They have not played in essentially, I think it's like 23 days. Mm-hmm. It's if you're Houston, you hope that kind of like what Jalen Hurts looked like early against Green Bay.
Just rusty.
They're rusty, and you start fast, and then you can kind of hold on to a lead.
But I just think the only thing is that the Texans defense and special teams has to step up huge this weekend, like they did against the Chargers.
Yeah, and granted, can they pull off the upset? I think so. This Chiefs team's been way too inconsistent. They've had a lot of luck go their way, despite the fact they're 15-2.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a reason they're 8-point favorites.
Yeah.
So a lot of fun matchups. I know we're kind of underselling them, but all of them you can hear right here on VTRN Sports. If you're out on the town on Saturday, or maybe you want to watch something else, you can just pull this up on our stream. Just ask your smart speaker, open VTRN Sports, and listen to the games right there. Yeah. All right. When we come back, we're going to talk a little college hoops, Tech UVA in action tonight. And then about 7:45, we will have Tom Bowles from frontstretch.com talking all these 2025 rule changes.
We're joined by Randy Trost with Trost Law. Randy, unfortunately, you guys seem to be seeing a lot of people that are driving without insurance and then impacting other motorists. What have you guys noticed, and what do people need to know to protect themselves?
We are seeing clients come into our office being injured by motorists without insurance. And the most important thing that a person can do to protect themselves against these uninsured motorists or underinsured motorists is to make sure their own uninsured, underinsured coverage matches their liability coverage for their insurance policy on their car, and make sure they have more than the minimum liability coverage limits and uninsured, underinsured motorist liability coverage limits.
Randy Trost with Trost Law discussing how you can protect yourself from uninsured or underinsured motorists. When people are considering their policies, do you have any do's or don'ts to make sure they have a strong policy?
I recommend getting a minimum of $100,000 single event liability insurance policy and making sure that your uninsured, underinsured liability limits are matching that $100,000 liability policy.
Randy, thank you for sharing that info with us today.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having me.
For more about how Trost Law can help you if you've been hurt, trostlaw.com, 434-777-HURT.
Attention community leaders and homeowners associations. Are you ready to elevate your community's management? Welcome to Brownstone Properties, your trusted partner in association management. We specialize in creating vibrant, well-managed communities that residents love to call home. From a financial management to maintenance coordination and community events, we handle it all with professionalism and care. Say goodbye to stress and hello to seamless operations. Schedule your informational discussion at Brownstone Properties, 3720 Old Forest Road in Lynchburg, and brownstoneproperties.com.
From interest rates to everyone's personal credit history and background, everybody's in a different spot. At Feller Chevrolet, they understand that. It's why Greg Walker spoke with us and shared how Feller Chevrolet can work with you.
Well, we have multiple lenders, so everybody's different in personality and in their credit equity of what they put into a vehicle. So the different lenders have different areas that they like to go after, and we know which ones to use for the different individuals to get them the best payments possible terms that they need. As far as interest rates, everybody is saying, oh my goodness, they're getting so high. But if you look historically, we're really right in a rate area that traditionally for housing and cars is very competitive. We've just been so spoiled.
At Feller Chevrolet, they work with people from diverse credit backgrounds to get the right car for their needs. Stop by and see them, Main Street in Alta Vista, and visit fellersdirect.com.
VTRN Sports is presented by Downtown Cairo, authentic Mediterranean and Egyptian food. Downtown Cairo, Gray's Mill Shopping Center in Forest.
Good morning. We are just getting your day started here on VTRN Sports with the morning warm-up. Stay connected with the show at Trey Lyle VT and Ty Tracy 90 on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Listen wherever you are with the VTRN Sports app, or watch the show live on YouTube at youtube.com/VTRN Sports Lynchburg. Now, back to the morning warm-up.
Bottom of the hour, 7:30 a.m. Good morning. Thanks so much for getting up with us here on the morning warm-up. Trey Lyle, Ty Tracy, right here. We gave some thoughts in the NFL playoffs at Trey Lyle VT at Ty Tracy 90. Yesterday, we predicted where NFL head coaches, and I jokingly said Rex Ryan to the Jets. I'd officially like to change that to Aaron Glenn and going to the Jets. and Mike McCarthy going to the Saints, Ben Johnson still going to the Bears, I'm going to manifest that. But after hearing more people, I might be okay with Mike McCarthy. If it's like short term, just to get him, teach Caleb Williams how to be an NFL quarterback, I get that. But tonight, college basketball, I touched on it at the top of the show. Both UVA and Virginia Tech in action tonight as the Hoos will have their rematch against SMU. 9 o'clock tonight, SMU 6.5-point favorites as they are at John Paul Jones Arena. Tickets for that game also as low as $2. We're mentioning that because Ed yesterday had Jerry Ratcliffe on the fast lane. They talked about fan apathy. It was they're also going to be honoring Tony Bennett in a few weeks for Virginia when they take on Georgia Tech. That game is on February the 8th on the CW, but that game to honor Tony Bennett. But I'm interested to watch this game. I believe this is the first time Virginia will be playing an opponent twice this season. It is in SMU. They lost this game earlier the year, 63-51 to open ACC play. And if you're head coach Ron Sanchez, this is your first chance to face an opponent twice in the ACC. Now, SMU is in the upper tier of the ACC at 3-2, but can you improve from that game? We will have now, I don't want to say definitive data because every game is different, but a good comparison point from game to game over the last couple of weeks of how you've gone. And my concern for this Virginia team is, all right, you've basically been dominated in 3 straight games. Is this team, considering everything they've had to deal with this year, just kind of, are they going to give up on the season? Because I think that was something that you could have talked about both for Virginia Tech and Virginia. Well, over the last couple of games, one team has shown a lot more fight than the other. So I'm interested to see what type of fight Virginia will show tonight, Ty.
I mean, I wouldn't give up because there's still hope, but like you still want to finish the season out strong with.
I'm talking about the players, not like I'm saying how will the players react?
That's what I'm saying. I was talking about the players. Like,
okay.
I wouldn't, as the players, I wouldn't I'll still talk like, hey, don't give up. There's still a lot of games left in the season, even though we about to head towards to February when everything gets cut down. It's going to be a tight race and everything. And we got the conference play coming up and everything. So I would tell the players, don't give up. There's still like a chance for us to show how to finish strong and everything.
I tend to agree with you. I just think Tony Bennett was, and Ed and I talked about it yesterday in the fast lane, such a strong force. It will be interesting to see how Ron Sanchez navigates that.
You can't blame everything on him and stuff. It just
but he's the head coach.
Yeah,
Everything falls on him.
I understand he's the head coach and everything falls on him, but he still managed to try his best. And even though they got a couple, it's some games you just think like that's not UVA and everything, and what's going on with the coach staff. But he's thinking about it's still not his fault where the position and everything.
But I agree. But the problem for Ron Sanchez is it's not like he got hired.
Yeah.
And we know he'll have multiple years at this. It's 1 year. So you have to grade it in such a very critical way that
he wasn't prepared for it at all. It's just like a last minute. Like,
here is a weird comparison. Like, I don't think it's apples to like Gerard Mayo was always seen as the successor in New England. And I think most people would say Ron Sanchez was seen as the successor for Virginia for Tony Bennett, if there was one. Gerard Mayo had to follow Bill Belichick, and there were certain things that Bill did that people in New England realized that, oh, Bill's gone, who's going to do it? And it ultimately failed Gerard. Gerard Mayo. He has no head coaching experience. He gets fired after 1 year. They replace him with Mike Vrabel, who, yes, played under Bill Belichick, but has been a head coach and knows. And Ron Sanchez has been a head coach before, so this is not, like I said, an apples to orange. It's more of an apple to orange comparison. It's just a comparison. Ron Sanchez, though, has never coached at this level and had to deal with it's just all these kids came to play for Tony Bennett, not Ron Sanchez, and it's very difficult. Whereas you look at Mike Young, and we'll get to Virginia Tech, like Mike Young at least is this his multiple years. He's built cachet. He's been to NCAA tournaments. Like, it's very difficult for him given the circumstances, but it will be interesting to see, can Virginia show
some fight at least.
Because you get blown out the way they did against Stanford, like you're not showing any fight. And that's my concern for this team is you have now been essentially blown out 3 straight games. Like, you're going to face an SMU team who you lost by 12 to already this year. It's going to be at home. It's at 9 o'clock. It's a 9 o'clock game in Charlottesville. Like, theoretically, that could be a chance for you to get a win, a nice win against an SMU team that is in the upper half of the conference. I just don't have faith they will, and I'm afraid. Like, I tend to believe that
they can win it. It just
UVA.
Can they show some fight?
Let's put it this way: I might be less shocked if UVA gets blown out than they win, just because of how they played lately.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with you on that one.
Because it's just, this is SMU averages 84 points per game. They shoot 47 points. Like, this is a good offensive team. Can Virginia, who, it would be one thing if they were losing these games and still looking good defensively. They're not even looking good defensively of late. And that's the one thing that concerns me, is that they have not looked great defensively of late. And that's what really concerns me about Virginia.
Yeah, I was about to say, or you just look at, like, if you're just looking at the defense, you like, this is not UVA basketball. Like, what is they doing out there? Do they want to be out there? Do you want, like, at least put an effort, play defense or anything? Like, this is not y'all and everything.
As for the Hokies, I think they have a real shot in these next 2 home games to get back to 500, which would be a big win for Virginia Tech. They're getting healthier. Their freshman point guard is coming back in this one. It is believed. They take on an NC State team that has been very disappointing after coming off the Final Four run, with Lynchburg native Kevin Keats, of course, at the helm. If you're Virginia Tech, I don't think there's many games where you feel like you. And granted, my thoughts about Virginia Tech are very much improving. I think they're better than I thought they would be. And I think they continue to have showed improvement in the last couple of games. I know they let one slip away against Stanford, and then they hold on against Cal. If they can put 2 halves together, which is kind of what I want to see, that is that continued improvement. And that leads to games where are all winnable. Wake Forest is winnable.
I was about to say, do you think, I'm glad you said that and everything, because I was about to say the same thing. Because I was like, do you think they could go on at least a little, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6?
I think
a 6-game run to February. Do you think so?
No, because I think they'll lose to Wake. I think they'll lose to Wake. They'll lose to Clemson.
But if they pull the upset against Wake Forest,
they could. I think, but I think if they can beat NC State and Georgia Tech, those teams that are, if you made tiers of the ACC on the same tier with them, and that would be a big improvement from where I thought. So looking at it tonight, I think if you are a team that is improving, you need to win this game. And that's what I want to see from Virginia Tech.
I mean, yeah, that's true. But I still feel like they could pull a little run, probably a 3-4 game winning streak.
If they can get back to 500 in the next 2 games, get to 9-9, heading into their, this last stretch, I feel good, because Clemson's probably one of the top teams in the ACC. Florida State has always been a bad matchup for Virginia Tech, but they have the same conference record. I think that's a winnable game. Virginia, I said I think Tech is better than Virginia, and I tend to be. So I think those are both winnable. Notre Dame, bottom team in the conference. Boston College, bottom team in the conference. I've already said Miami's the worst. So there are a lot of games where, like, the expectation is you don't make a tournament team, but if Virginia Tech finishes around 500 in ACC play and 500 overall, they're not going to make a postseason tournament. But that, I think, is an improvement of where I thought this team would be, especially when they went on a 6-game losing streak, and then they also got blown out by St. Joe's. So I think it's an improvement, which you have to give Mike Young a lot of credit because he's coaching his behind off, and he's showing why Mike Young is an elite basketball coach. I really still believe that. All right, let's go to break. We can come back. My front stretch boss, Tom Bowles. There's a lot of rule changes for 2025. If you missed it, new front stretch happy hour podcast broke them down. Myself, Dalton Hopkins, Michael Massey did that. But Tom Bowles breaks them down, gets his thoughts on them next here in not the fast lane. You got to put another $1 in the jar in the morning warm up right here on VTR and Sports.
We're here with Colt from We Fix Stupid Computers. Colt, to go along with your residential or individual walk-in services that you offer, you also do a lot of business IT support. How about you discuss that, and what specifically do you do to help businesses in the area?
We see a lot of that. Small to medium-sized businesses, they still have their IT projects. They still need resources to help them within their office and for remote users. And so we'll step in and fill in the gap where we do a lot of projects for them, help them manage their resources, their budgets, and get their technology under control.
Colt, how can these people reach out to you to assess their IT needs?
Call us. Our number is 434-525-8590. Our website, wefixstupidcomputers.com. We're on Facebook. And our office is here locally, 14690 Forest Road, right next to Scott's Cabinet on 221.
Your home is more than just walls and windows. It's where life happens. And at Right Choice Construction, we get that. We're not just builders. We're fathers, mothers, neighbors, just like you. And every nail and every beam reflects our commitment to creating a place you're proud to live in. With Right Choice Construction, you're choosing a team that's been perfecting the art of building for years. So build with us, build with experience, build with quality, build with Right Choice.
Hi, I'm Chuck from Aquatrack Adventures in Salem. The Virginia Talk Radio Network and InsaneRadioDeals.com have helped our company grow by sharing our company's message throughout Central and Southside Virginia. The gift cards and experiences sold on InsaneRadioDeals.com have brought us many new customers. If you're a business that wants to grow with a message that resonates and gets results, I highly recommend InsaneRadioDeals.com and the Virginia Talk Radio Network. Simply put, it works. Are you already done with winter? At Aquatrack Adventures, we can help you escape. Scuba classes are forming right now. We can have you ready for warm, picture-perfect beaches, clear tropical water, and blue skies in sunny Florida, Cozumel, the Cayman Islands, or even Fiji once you complete your certification. Take that first step. Call Aquatrack Adventures on Mill Lane in Salem and visit our website at aquatrackadventures.com.
Good morning. We are just getting your day started here on VTRN Sports with the morning warm-up. Stay connected at Trey Lyle VT and Ty Tracy 90 on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Listen wherever you are with the VTRN Sports app or watch the show live on YouTube at youtube.com/VTRN Sports Lynchburg. Now, back to the morning warm-up.
7:44 to be more exact, here on the morning warm-up. Good morning. Hope everyone's getting up with us, getting your day started. If you're driving to work, please be safe out there. Trey Lyle, Ty Tracy. We're also streaming live on YouTube, youtube.com/@VTRN Sports Lynchburg. And on YouTube, you can check out the Happy Hour podcast from frontstretch.com. Michael Massey, Dalton Hopkins, and a very strapping, good-looking Trey Lyle. Talked about the 2025 NASCAR rule changes, Mike Wallace not being able to run the Daytona 500, plus the CW booth. So check those out wherever you get your podcast or on YouTube where you can watch this. And speaking of frontstretch.com, Tom Bowles joins us Now, he got up just for us, just for you listeners. So please appreciate him at NASCAR Bulls. Give him your love. And my first question to you, I'll give you a warm-up question. It won't be about NASCAR, since you are a Philadelphia resident. Vibes around Philadelphia as Ty and I preview the game in the first segment today. Vibes around Philadelphia as the Rams are coming into town on Sunday.
Oh, I think that's a great opening question, Trey. So, certainly the Eagles didn't play up to expectations on Sunday. They played good enough to win, but people thought that, Jalen Hurts should have been better. People thought that there should have been more rhythm in the offense overall. But with that said, I think the Rams coming in is a huge advantage because Philly thrives on being the underdog, thrives on being the one that people are focused against. And LA is such a feel-good story because of what's going on with the wildfires and the way in which, they were able to overcome everything to beat the Vikings. I think internally, the Eagles are going to use that as fuel. And they understand that everybody is going to be rooting against them in some way because of the fairy tale story of the Rams. And I think that's going to really help them get their stuff together on Sunday.
Have you been able to find your inner excellence? Have you been able to train your mind for extraordinary purpose, performance in the best way possible?
Are you saying you want that as a bonus, Trey? Are you saying that you want me to ship you a copy?
Jim Murphy might be the biggest winner from the wild card weekend.
From inner excellence.
All I got to say is I think Jim Murphy might be the biggest winner from wild card weekend because he is now an Amazon bestseller. Let's just he might be.
This is how you go viral in 2025.
Shout out to AJ Brown. All right. Something I don't do often. Just kidding. I do read sometimes. But frontstretch.com, Tom Bowles here. Let's start with the 2025 rule changes. And there were 3 notable rule changes in this one, starting with what is deemed the open exemption provisional, which essentially is a special or invited entrant that's not locked into the race, will be allowed to be a 41st open car, however, will not be able to receive points and the prize money. They would be eligible for the trophy in order to spot in the All-Star race. The current example of this is Elio Castroneves, who is attempting in the Daytona 500 with Trackhouse and Project 91. If he's unable to qualify for the Daytona 500 via speed or through the duels, he would be the 41st entry in the race, but he wouldn't earn any points or prize money from it, essentially. What was your thoughts on this? And do you think this is something that will encourage more of these kind of one-off events that we have slowly seen increase with the next-gen car?
The more I think about it, Trey, the less I like it. People watch sports for the competition element. They don't necessarily watch it as entertainment. And of all the rule changes that were made in the offseason, this feels like entertainment. It's almost like, oh, Michael Jordan, you didn't have the skills necessary to make a Major League Baseball team, but we know you're going to sell tickets, so we'll just put you on a team anyway. And we'll just, make sure your stats won't count. We just know that people want to see you. And I don't know how well that's going to land with race fans. Certainly, I don't think it's going to be used that often. Elio in the Daytona 500, sure. But after that, how many times do we even have 40 cars attempt to qualify? Every race, NASCAR has 4 open spots for teams not already guaranteed a spot in the field. You're going to see this happen maybe twice a year, 3 times max, unless we get a whole lot more ownership and a whole lot more entries for each race. With that said, if somebody doesn't qualify for a race, this is what fans have been complaining about through the years in terms of, nepotism within rides and people without the talent necessary to make the field ending up in the field anyway. And even though you would want a superstar to compete against the best in the world, if they don't have the speed to qualify, they don't have the speed to qualify. If they don't have the speed to qualify at the Indy 500, they don't make it. So I don't know if this rule benefits NASCAR in the long run. Instead, it kind of feeds this narrative that it's more of an entertainment type sport than a competition style sport, if that makes sense.
There is some ambiguity. That's the word I was looking for.
We'll get you there.
Some vagueness to the rule of just special or invited entrant. It doesn't mention what their background has to be necessarily. So this led to some reckless speculation last night that if Martin Truex Jr. did not qualify, given the fact that, you think about it realistically, if the rumored entrant is with Tricon Garage, would be their first Cup start at any capacity, it probably would be essentially a fifth Joe Gibbs team, that he could receive this exemption because of the way it's worded. Do you feel that this could be a possibility? Because I don't think NASCAR has come out and said, like, yes, Ilio's gotten this, or yes, X driver's gotten this. It's just kind of under the assumption that since Ilio is a four-time Indy 500 champion, he falls perfectly in this category.
What unites American sports fans of all shapes and sizes? It's when a referee gets involved and makes a subjective call. Nobody wants the officials to decide a game. People want the athletes to decide a game. And what you just said, whether Truex is going to make it or not, if he doesn't qualify, is Elio good enough? This is the type of stuff that turns people off. They want people to qualify based on merit. They don't want people to qualify based on somebody thinks they're cool.
Speaking of merit, we'll get to the Mike Wallace thing in a moment, but speaking of merit, the playoff waiver has changed to some degree. It essentially means that if a driver gets a playoff waiver due to being assessed as suspension or outright skipping the race, i.e., we could call this rule the Kyle Larson rule, that essentially you'll be stripped of all playoff points and not allowed to use earn playoff points. You will start the playoff with the 2,000 base points and then go from there if you win a race or if you make the playoffs. Your thoughts on this? Do you think that now that NASCAR has finally kind of drawn a line in the sand when it comes to these playoff waivers, that's going to be a good thing, and it's going to change kind of, Kyle Larson's decision-making process when he's in this situation this time in May with the Coke 600, Indy 500, and so on and so forth?
I don't necessarily think it'll change the decision-making process. I think what NASCAR wanted to do was get ahead of any drama that might ensue going forward if more people attempted the Indy 500 and then didn't make it back in time for the Charlotte Double, or if some weird one race thing like Larson's came up again and you didn't have to have weeks of speculation, will that person or won't that person make the playoffs? Now it's very clear. I think what the rule says is we're going to grant you that waiver. We're just going to waive all the playoff points. And then that absolves us of any guilt or any controversy of giving you the waiver in the first place. And NASCAR's always been more generous than less generous with those waivers. I can only think of a handful of situations in the Truck Series where they didn't give the waiver, and it felt like in those situations they should have given the waiver. So I think that's what the goal of this was about, Trey. I think it was about reducing some of the drama surrounding these decisions. Honestly, I think if Kyle gets stuck in the same Indy 500 situation again and he's in contention to win the race, they're not going to pull him. And now they have a reason not to pull him because they know he'll make the playoffs anyway. And Hendrick's going to think, we can win one of the races in the final 8 to make the championship 4. We don't need that extra playoff point buffer. It certainly helps a lot. And we saw that with Denny Hamlin last year, but we don't necessarily need it.
Interesting, because I tend to disagree with that assertion that it would force them. Maybe because he's already ran it. It's also a different thought process. Like, he's already done it. Like, he's done the Indianapolis 500. He might prioritize the Coke 600, but it's more of me following the money here. Do you think maybe they put something in this, made a more of a hard line to try to encourage drivers from not skipping races so that come May, if rain hits the Indianapolis 500 again, that Kyle Larson tries to pick the Coke 600 because he is still one of the faces of the sport. And that is the race that will be the first race on Amazon Prime, which is a really big deal for NASCAR.
Right. Trey?
Yes.
If you're in second place and you see the trophy in front of you and there's 20 laps remaining in the race and there's some sort of rain delay in Indy or some sort of major delay because of a crash, Kyle Larson is not going to extricate himself from that car. I don't care what the order is. There's only a handful of races that are called the biggest race in the world. Would you leave that for your day job if you had an opportunity at the trophy? I just don't see it happening. I think that NASCAR is trying to push something that at the end of the day, people are going to do what they're going to do. But what it does do, and this is why I don't mind the rule at all, is it clarifies these weird one race situations. Like think about Chase Elliott and Denny Hamlin at Charlotte. This is one of the situations that we're not talking about where this would have mattered. So now if you get a one race suspension for aggressive driving and you're not in the car, you lose all your playoff points. So there's incentive not to go over the line. There's incentive not to do what Austin Dillon did at Richmond. I think it's a way that NASCAR can rein in some of that aggression in addition to all of the Indy 500 stuff that you're talking about. And that's a side benefit of what we have.
Well, I agree with you in terms of if he is already raced the Indianapolis 500 into the middle of the race and there's a delay. It's more of what happened last year where the delay of the race got started and the question was, does he leave? And that was more of my question. But that we're running out of time. We've got more things to ask the very smart Tom Bowles. So the DVP clock has changed. Essentially, it's still theoretically in place. The only difference is you can now go behind the wall and make repairs. You're not done for the day. The big thing is, like, if you get a flat tire and get towed back to the garage and it's just flat tires, essentially, and it was towed back to the garage, your day was done, which was kind of dumb because it's just flat tires. Now they kind of clarify that. What do you think about the DVP changes? Do you think that clears up a lot of the gray area and a lot of the issues that drivers had with this policy last season?
I think it had gotten to the point with the next gen that NASCAR couldn't guarantee the way that they were towing the cars back, that you would just have flat tires. And well, first of all, you'd be in a position to be towed when your car wasn't really that damaged. And then you would be quote unquote out of the race. And there were just too many subjective calls. Once again, officiating getting involved where it was a gray area, whether the team should have been labeled out or not labeled out. And you don't want that to decide a championship. So I do like teams going back and being able to decide for themselves if they want to spend the time to go to fix the car and go back out there and earn a couple of more points. And certainly in the playoffs, it creates this extra element of, oh my God, you were just in a wreck. How quickly can you fix the car? And maybe you come back out at Talladega, run at half speed, and then a big wreck happens and you end up 20th. And then all the crew came together to fix the car and give you an opportunity to still contend for a championship. With that said, the reason why this rule came into effect in the first place was there were so many damaged race cars at some of these tracks just running around 3/4 speed. Like it became this situation where they were obstacles on the racetrack. And NASCAR was worried about these people coming out for one more point, two more points, when they were just a nuisance at best and potentially causing accidents at worst. So we have to see how this all plays out. But we survived for decades with everybody naturally coming back out on the racetrack if they encountered a crash or if they encountered a mechanical problem that wasn't an engine problem that they could fix. So I think in the long run, it's going to be fine. And it's probably better than officiating coming in and making those subjective calls.
At NASCAR Bowles, Tom Bowles joins us here. And good news is since the Buccaneers are out, I will no longer keep messing your name up with Todd Bowles. So thanks so much for joining us this morning. I know I appreciate it.
Don't be insulting my cousin like that.
I will not. Tom Bowles, frontstretch.com, the head man there. You have a good rest of your day, Tom.
Bye, Trey.
That will do it for this episode of the Morning Warm-Up with Trey Lyle. Buy the book, VSiN, coming up, Mark Dominic there in a matter of moments. Ty, we'll be back tomorrow.
Yes, definitely.
Thursday. Andrew Alex joining us. Gonna talk his love of the Commanders, his love of Jaden Daniels, plus the Hokies. So Hokie hangovers and BT scoops. Andrew Alex joins us on his regular Thursday. We're gonna have him every week on Thursday. So he joins us tomorrow in that. So for Ty Tracy, my name's Trey Lyle. Top of the hour, 8 o'clock, 8 a.m. Thanks so much for listening to the Morning Warm-Up. Everyone have a great rest of your day.
Thanks so much for listening to the Morning Warm-Up on VTRN Sports, 93.3 FM, W227 BG Timberlake, and 1320 AM WVGM Lynchburg.
This is VSiN.